Welcome to session 4 of increasing your sales. Now we're going to talk about selling where customers want to buy the most, right? So this is still place, but we talked about when in session 3. In session 4, we're going to talk about the where customers and buyers want to buy the most. In this session, we've got 3 objectives. One, we're going to discuss the importance of seeking God alone in business sales. Second, we're going to talk about identifying different ways to sell where customers buy the most. Identify the places, the where of where customers buy the most. And then item 3, or objective 3, is solving problems caused by expanding locations as a way of increasing sales. Solved problems caused by expanding locations, making products more widely available in terms of increasing the sales, a way to increase your sales. So in part 1, again, you review what you learned from last time, what they learned from last time, and then we move to part 2, preparing advice about selling where customers want to buy the most. Here we talk about the story of Sarah. And Sarah sells cooking utensils, plastic plates, cutlery, tablecloths, and other kitchen and dining items. She sells in a weekly market near her community. This week, she got a loan and brought twice as many items as she usually buys. However, she found that she cannot sell them all at her local market. Sarah is not making any profit and she feels afraid. She goes to church to pray for God's help on Sunday. In the evening, she also burns special candles and sacrifices a hen, just like the witch doctor recommends. This is not uncommon, right? In many locales around the world, using witch doctors and diviners to figure out how to improve a situation. So we need to teach, right, on God's ways. So what are your thoughts on this practice? What similar practices occur in our community? So the powers of evil and discouragement are real, right? People can get discouraged very easily. And the Bible tells us in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 and 12, put on all the armor that God gives so you can defend yourself against the devil's tricks. We do not struggle against only humans. We are fighting against forces, rulers of darkness and powers in the spiritual world, right? And they're real. We know that Jesus has defeated these, and we have to convince our people that they have been defeated, not to be tempted in these ways. So, as we move on, we think about Sarah again, and she's thinking about 3 options about where to sell her product, where else she can sell her product. So there are 3 things that she's thinking about. One is Sarah's first option is to open a second location in the same marketplace. So a second location in the same market, the same general area in her community. She thinks this is going to make her more visible, but she does not know how she will manage 2 stalls at the same time, and she's not actually reaching more people. How could Sarah wisely plan to sell her goods? Well, one is hire helpers, right? Use promotion strategies to attract more customers, etc. Now, the second idea that Sarah has is to go to another market in a nearby community. She thinks that she's going to reach other customers, but it's going to mean more travel, more cost, and time involved. Now, how could Sarah wisely plan for this approach? Well, she could hire helpers and sell more, right? If she sells more product enough, she might be able to cover her costs. And then her third idea is to get a permanent stall in a town near her community or her town. Get a permanent stall now. She thinks that it's going to be easier to manage one location and that customers will pay more for her permanent stall or location. But it's going to mean taking transportation to the town. So she's going to get a permanent place more in town where there are more customers than out in her village. But it's going to take more money, more time and transportation, and costs will increase to do this. So how could Sarah wisely plan to sell her goods? Well, she can find a safe place to stay in town, hire reliable helpers, right? Open the business with another seller, right? Join forces with someone else and share time in the business. making certain that she sells enough to cover her costs. So these are different ways that Sarah might be able to increase her sales by determining where best to sell her product. Now, what are some other things that Sarah can consider in terms of increasing the breadth or thinking about where to sell her product? So in part 3, we discuss location options for her business. Now, what are some different locations for selling in one's area, right? This is something that you should challenge the group to think about in part 3. There are weekly markets that only meet once a week, marketplaces that only meet once a week where they know that the market's happening. You know, think of maybe in our country, the farmer's market, right? Maybe like a Saturday morning early. So there might be weekly markets or daily markets, or they're renting a shop somewhere, selling house to house, right? Door-to-door sales, or going on the road to a nearby community and going door to door, selling in a nearby town or nearby markets, selling from your home. If people know that you have something that people really want, maybe you have a particular recipe of a particular good that's delicious and they know about it and they're willing to come to where you are. So there's different ways you can think about different places where to sell your product. So thinking about new locations, thinking about how you solve any problems that may come with those locations is a good thing to spend your time on when planning your business and figuring out how to increase the availability of your product. So in closing, in part 4, we want to challenge the people again to think about what have they learned in this session? What have they learned through the stories that you've taken them through? And that is to remember that place and the where you're going to sell your products is very important. So considering new locations beyond your existing location, or if you're a new startup business, picking your first location is a very important decision as part of your sales mix of the things you're going to do to sell your product. So we want to consider new locations for selling and plan wisely to overcome any problems that may come with that particular location. As we talked about hiring workers, joining forces with another seller, selling at a certain time in that location where the most buyers will be there. So those are some ideas about where to sell. And so we remember the 5 things about increasing your sales: people, customers, right? And we think about the products or services, the idea of adding value to products or services. We think about the place where we sell. We've talked about the when of the place of where we sell and the where of the place of where we sell. Next, we're going to move into the 4th item. And that 4th item, I have real trouble getting those 4 fingers up all at once. But the 4th item is setting the price of our product or service. A tremendously important decision. And that's what we're going to cover in session 5, setting the right price for our product or service. I'll see you when we get back to that session, session 5. See you then.